Hey everyone, I really need to vent about something that happened to me this Thanksgiving. Honestly, I'm still processing it, but I wanted to share it because I just don't get how people can be this blatantly hypocritical. You all are probably going to be as angry as I was. So a little backstory. I'm Sarah, 33, and I have a son named Charlie. For the most part, I get along with my parents, but if you've been following my posts, you know there's a lot of tension between me and my sister, Emily. She's always been the golden child, perfect in my parents' eyes, and if you ask them, they'll swear that she's the better daughter. So, I've learned to just accept it. Or at least, I thought I had. When Thanksgiving rolled around this year, my parents called me up and invited me over, but they were very clear about one thing. No kids this year, Sarah. We're keeping it quiet this time. It's going to be an adult dinner. At first, I was kind of bummed about it, but then I thought, okay, maybe this will be nice. A peaceful dinner without the chaos of kids running around. I've been looking forward to some adult time for once, and I figured I'd just leave Charlie with my babysitter for a few hours. It would be a short trip. I'd go, hang out, and then come back home before he got lonely. I made sure to call my mom the night before and double-check the plans. Just confirming, you're sure it's just going to be the adults, right? I asked, even though I kind of already knew the answer. Oh yes, Sarah. We want a nice, quiet Thanksgiving. No kids running around causing noise, she assured me. With that, I thought everything was settled. I left the house the next day, ready to spend a few hours with my family, and then head back to my son. It was going to be a quick, easy trip, or so I thought. When I got to my parents' house, it looked just like I remembered. Everything was set up for dinner, the house smelled amazing, and it had that holiday warmth. I figured I'd have a couple of hours of peace with them, maybe even get some one-on-one time with my mom. But as I walked in, something immediately felt off. The first thing I noticed was the noise. I wasn't expecting the sound of kids' laughter and footsteps pounding across the floor. I stood frozen for a second, blinking in disbelief. I heard a voice call out, "Aunt Sarah? Aunt Sarah?" and looked over to see Emily's kids, 3 of them, all running in and out of the kitchen, chasing each other, playing tag, making noise, just like the chaos my parents had said they didn't want. I froze. Wait, what? I thought I was hallucinating for a second, but no, there they were, Emily's kids. Confused and slightly annoyed, I turned around to look at my mom, who was standing at the stove, stirring the gravy like she didn't have a care in the world. "Mom," I said, trying to stay calm. "You said no kids this year." She turned to me with a smile that didn't match the situation. "Oh, honey, we did say no kids, but Emily's kids are here, and they're different. You know how it is with your son." I could feel my heart racing. Different? What did that even mean? "Mom," I said, raising my voice slightly. "You told me it was going to be a quiet dinner. No kids running around because they're too loud. But this is exactly what you said you didn't want." My mom looked up at me, giving me that look she always gives when she doesn't want to have an uncomfortable conversation. "Well, your sister's kids are well-behaved, Sarah. They're quieter." I could feel my face flush. "They're quieter?" This was a straight-up slap in the face. I looked over at Emily, who was standing near the table with a smug smile, clearly enjoying the scene. "It's not a big deal, Sarah. Mom just wants a calm dinner with family, and you know, my kids know how to act." Act? My son is well-behaved. He's not perfect, but he's definitely not a problem. Yet somehow, I was the one being excluded, my child deemed too loud for the Thanksgiving table, while Emily's kids could run around causing a racket. I could feel the tears welling up. I was angry, but I didn't want to break down right there, not in front of all of them. I took a deep breath, my hands shaking. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice shaking with frustration. "But I can't do this." I turned on my heel and walked straight out the door, without looking back. I didn't even wait for my mom to call after me or for Emily to say anything else. I just left. I drove home in silence, my mind racing, my heart heavy with anger and hurt. I had been treated like I wasn't even part of the family, like my son didn't matter, like we were less than. I wanted to tell my parents exactly how I felt, to yell and scream at them, but what would be the point? I already knew where I stood with them. I wasn't going to get through to them. I wasn't going to change anything. 2 days passed. I thought that maybe the holidays would just blow over, that maybe I'd just let it go and move on. But then, this morning, the text started. First, it was my dad. He asked me how I was doing, said that he and Mom really missed me, and that they were sorry for the way things went. But the words didn't feel real. I could tell they were trying to smooth things over, but something felt fake about it. Then came the text from Emily. She was asking if I could help them out with some bills. Apparently, they were a little tight this month, and she was asking for a loan, saying it'd only be temporary. I stared at the screen in disbelief. After everything, after they'd treated me like nothing, after excluding me from the family dinner because of a stupid reason, they had the nerve to ask me for money? I was shaking with anger. And yet, I knew exactly what I had to do. I wouldn't let them manipulate me. Not again. Not ever again. I sat there staring at the text for a long time, letting the anger slowly build. How could they? After all that had happened, after the blatant hypocrisy of the Thanksgiving dinner, they had the gall to come to me for money? I felt like I was drowning in frustration. They'd made me feel small, dismissed my son and me, and now they wanted me to come to their rescue when things weren't going their way. How convenient. I wasn't about to be the fixer anymore, the one who always cleaned up everyone else's mess while they treated me like an afterthought. So, I took a deep breath, my fingers hovering over my phone. I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to let this slide. I began typing. Emily, I saw your message. I know things are tough, but I can't help you out this time. You made it clear that my son wasn't welcome at Thanksgiving, and I've got no interest in being treated like an outsider anymore. I've helped you guys enough, and you've taken advantage of my kindness for too long. I'm done. I stared at it for a second before hitting send. My heart pounded in my chest, but I knew this was the only response that made sense. There was no way I could keep enabling their behavior. I wasn't their bank, their emotional punching bag, or their doormat anymore. The reply came almost immediately. Sarah, please don't be like this. You're family. I didn't mean it like that. I was just asking for a little help. We've always helped you, right? We've always been there for you when you needed us. I could feel my blood boil again. They've always helped me? When? I couldn't remember a single time my parents or Emily had actually had my back. Sure, they'd made an effort every now and then, but it was always on their terms, always when they wanted to look good. I could see right through the manipulation. Emily was trying to guilt-trip me, trying to get me to feel bad for standing up for myself. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. Not this time. I took a moment to breathe, then typed back. You've never been there for me, Emily. Not when it counted. You don't get to use me when it's convenient for you. If you need to figure things out, you'll have to do it on your own. I won't be part of this toxic cycle anymore. I hit send, feeling a strange mix of relief and frustration. I knew that what I had just said would likely stir up a storm. It wasn't going to be easy, but I couldn't keep letting them walk all over me. And then, like clockwork, my phone started blowing up. First, it was my dad again, asking me to consider the family and think of how things used to be. Then, it was a call from my mom. I didn't pick up at first, my hands were shaking too much. But she didn't stop. The phone rang again and again. Finally, I answered. Sarah, why are you being like this? Your father and I are upset. We've always been here for you, my mom said, her voice softer than I expected. Really? You've always been here for me? I replied, feeling the anger in my voice rising again. You told me my son wasn't welcome at Thanksgiving, and you still haven't apologized for it. You treat me like I'm not part of the family, but you want me to bail you out when things are tough? It doesn't work like that. There was a long pause on the other end. I could hear my mom sigh, a sound I knew all too well. It was the sound of dismissal. Sarah, it's not like that. You've always been a bit dramatic, she started, but I wasn't having any of it. No, I interrupted. You don't get to call me dramatic after what you did. You told me my kid was too loud. That's what this is about. I've been your daughter for years, and this is how you treat me? You don't get to act like nothing happened and expect me to just let it go. I could hear my mom's voice cracking as she tried to smooth things over. Please, we're sorry. We just didn't want it to be too loud. I laughed bitterly. You didn't want it to be too loud? But Emily's kids can run around and scream, and that's fine. You're so full of it. I could feel the tears threatening to fall again, but I fought them back. I wasn't going to let them manipulate me into feeling guilty. Look, Mom, I'm done. I've had enough. I'm not your fallback anymore. I'm not your plan B for when things go wrong. Don't call me again unless you're ready to apologize. Really apologize. The line went quiet for a few seconds, and then my mom sighed again, almost as if she was trying to let me off easy. We'll talk later, okay? Yeah, we'll see, I muttered, hanging up the phone. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I went to bed feeling angry, betrayed, and exhausted. My phone was silent after the call with my mom, but I could tell it was only a matter of time before they tried again. They always did. It wasn't just the Thanksgiving thing that hurt. It was everything leading up to it. The way they'd always made me feel like I was second-rate compared to Emily. The way they'd put her on a pedestal while I was expected to just swallow my pride and play along. I was sick of it. And then came the next message, this time from Emily again. Sarah, we really need your help. Things are getting bad, and we don't have anyone else to turn to. Please, just this once. I swear I'll make it up to you. I sat there for what felt like forever, staring at the text on my phone. I could feel the weight of the decision pressing on me, like the air in the room had thickened. Every part of me wanted to say no, to shut them out for good and walk away. But then there was this tiny voice, whispering at the back of my mind, their family. They'll change. They need you. But no, I quickly reminded myself. They hadn't changed. Not really. They'd apologized for their actions, but it was always about saving face, never about truly acknowledging what they had done. I had let them walk all over me for so long because I was afraid of pushing them away completely. But this time felt different. I put my phone down on the table and leaned back in my chair, rubbing my temples. I was so tired of the emotional games, of the guilt trips, of being the one who always gave in. My son was my priority, and he deserved a mother who stood up for herself. He deserved to see that you didn't have to bend over backward for people who didn't respect you. I closed my eyes for a second and thought about how my parents had treated me for years. How they'd given Emily everything, praised her for every little thing she did, while I was left to deal with their leftovers. I wasn't just the black sheep in the family. I was the one who had to fight for the scraps. My phone buzzed again. I almost didn't want to look. But curiosity got the best of me, and I picked it up. It was another message from Emily. Sarah, please. I'm really sorry for how things went down. You know I didn't mean to hurt you, right? Things have been hard lately. The kids, the house, everything. I'm trying, but I don't know what to do. I need you. We need you. Please. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. She was trying to guilt trip me again. Trying to make me feel like I was the one abandoning her when she was the one who'd turned her back on me all these years. We need you. How many times had I heard that before? Only to be left out in the cold when it was time to step up. But this time, I wasn't falling for it. I had to put my foot down, and I had to stay firm. For myself. For my son. I took a deep breath and typed my response. I'm sorry, Emily, but I'm not going to keep enabling this. You've made it clear that I'm not welcome when things aren't going your way. I've helped you before, but I'm done now. I've got to take care of my own, and that doesn't include being the one you turn to when you need something. You've made your choices, and now you have to live with them. I hit send without looking back. It felt liberating and terrifying. I knew this was the breaking point. This was the moment that could change everything. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed again. It was my mom this time. Sarah, what's going on? Why are you shutting us out? We're family, and we've always helped you, even when you didn't ask. Don't do this. I stared at the message for a while, letting the words sink in. We've always helped you. Again, the same old story. I'd heard it so many times that it barely even registered anymore. They always acted like I owed them something, like they'd done so much for me when in reality, it was the bare minimum. I took a breath and dialed my mom's number. I wasn't going to keep going back and forth with texts. I needed to hear her voice one last time, hear how she would try to manipulate me into giving in. When she picked up, there was a calmness to her voice, but I could tell she was starting to get frustrated. Sarah, please. I don't know why you're doing this. We've always been there for you. We're your family. Always been there for me? I repeated, my voice rising. You haven't been there for me. You've been there for Emily. You've always put her first, and you've made me feel like I was just some backup. Well, I'm done. I'm done being the second choice. I'm done being your safety net. I'm done. I could hear her take a sharp breath. Sarah, don't say that. You don't mean it. We can work this out. We're family. You're overreacting. Don't be dramatic. My heart skipped a beat, and my anger flared. Dramatic? Really? After everything they'd put me through, that's what she was going to say? I'm not overreacting. I shot back. I've been patient for so long. I've let you walk all over me, and I'm not doing it anymore. I've spent my entire life feeling like I didn't matter to you, like I was just an afterthought. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that everything's fine when you treat me like this. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I could hear my mom's breath, shallow and shaky. She didn't know how to respond. And for the first time, I didn't feel bad about it. You don't understand, Sarah, she finally said, her voice breaking. We're just trying to help. It's not easy for any of us. No, you're not, I replied, voice firm. You've never been about helping. You've been about controlling. She didn't say anything after that. I hung up, knowing that things had just changed forever. There was a strange mix of relief and dread coursing through me. My hands were shaking, but I wasn't sure if it was from the anger still burning inside or the weight of what I'd just done. Cutting ties with my family, well, at least part of it, felt like a betrayal, but at the same time, it felt like the most honest thing I'd done in years. I stared at the phone for a moment longer, feeling the silence in my house, the absence of all those familiar yet suffocating family dynamics. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. It was like the calm after a storm, where the winds had just died down, and all that was left was the wreckage. But I knew it was necessary. I'd spent so long bending over backward for people who didn't truly care about me. And now, I was finally standing up for myself, putting my son first. I wasn't going to let my own family continue to drag me down with their expectations, their guilt trips, and their favoritism. For years, I had let them make me feel like I wasn't enough, like I had to earn my place in the family, like I had to prove myself every damn day. And in the end, nothing was ever enough. I wasn't about to let my son grow up watching that kind of toxic behavior. He deserved better than that. He deserved to see a strong, confident mother who knew her worth, who knew how to set boundaries, and who wasn't afraid to walk away from relationships that no longer served her. The phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from Emily. Sarah, please don't do this. I'm sorry. I know I've messed up, but you're making it worse. You're breaking up the family. I need you. We all do. You can't just walk away from us. We're your family. The words felt so hollow. You're breaking up the family. That was always the threat, wasn't it? The ultimate guilt trip. The one thing they could use to make me feel like I was the bad guy. But this time, it didn't work. I didn't feel a pang of guilt. I didn't feel bad for making the hard choice. I felt empowered. I didn't even bother responding. Instead, I locked my phone and turned it off. I didn't need to hear anymore. I needed space to think. I needed to focus on myself and my son. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't constantly worried about their drama. I wasn't pacing around wondering if they were going to come after me again, demanding an explanation or playing their usual emotional games. That night, I curled up on the couch with my son, who was playing quietly beside me. I'd been so caught up in the drama for so long that I'd almost forgotten how peaceful it could be just the two of us. The weight that had been on my chest for years seemed to lift a little bit, and I felt like I could breathe again. I didn't have to worry about all the tension and resentment that had been building for years. I didn't have to feel like I had to choose between my son and my family. The next few days were quieter than I expected. My phone stayed silent, and I wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or nervous. Was this the calm before the storm? I had no idea, but something told me this was just the beginning. I had no illusions that my family was going to let me go so easily. They were going to fight. They were going to push and pull, try to guilt trip me, try to manipulate me into coming back. But I was ready for it. A week later, the inevitable happened. My mom showed up at my door. She didn't knock. She didn't call first. She just appeared on my doorstep, her face pained but determined. I could see she'd been crying, her eyes red-rimmed. But I wasn't going to fall for it this time. Not this time. I crossed my arms and leaned against the doorframe, studying her without saying anything. Sarah, she began, voice soft and wavering. You can't just do this. We're your family. You can't cut us off like this. I've been calling, but you won't answer. I need you to understand. I do understand, Mom. I replied, my voice steady. I understand that you've always made me feel second to Emily. I understand that no matter what I do, it's never enough. And I understand that if I keep allowing myself to be treated like this, nothing will ever change. Her face twisted in shock, like she didn't know what to say to that. She took a step back, as though my words had physically pushed her away. You don't mean that, she said, almost pleading. You can't. You're just upset, and I get it. But you don't understand what you're doing. This isn't just about you and Emily. This is about the family. No, it's about me, I snapped. For once, it's about me. And I'm done. I've spent my whole life trying to be good enough for you, for Emily. I've tried to be everything you wanted me to be, but it's never been enough. I've had enough of the games. I've had enough of the drama. And I'm not coming back this time. Her eyes filled with tears, and for a split second, I almost felt guilty. But I shook my head, willing the feeling away. I couldn't let myself fall back into the same old cycle of manipulation and guilt. I love you, Mom, I said, my voice softening just a bit. But I need to love myself more. I need to stand up for what's right for me. And right now, that means walking away. She stood there for a long moment, staring at me, her face a mix of disbelief and sadness. But I didn't flinch. I didn't apologize. I didn't back down. Finally, she turned and walked away. There were no more words, no more guilt trips. And as she disappeared down the driveway, I closed the door behind me, locking it without looking back. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. The road ahead was going to be tough. But I had made my decision, and there was no going back. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally in control of my own life. No more manipulation, no more guilt, just me, my son, and the peace I had earned. And I wasn't going to let anything or anyone take that away from me. It was over.